Hello, YouTube. Hey guys, Sean with Stealing Second here. Coming to you today with a couple topics. First topic I'm going to jump into and talk about is going to be what is a vintage card in modern day. Also, second topic is I'm just going to show you guys what my plan is for 2020, what I'm working on, and a couple of the registries, set registries on PSA that I'm trying to fulfill. So, going back to my first subject, I wanted to jump in. What is a vintage card? For guys my age, which is mid 30s and older, we like to think, I would say for the majority of us, would like to think pre 1980s is vintage. Anything after 1980 would be considered modern. But I want to make the argument, especially with it being 2020, that 80s cards are now vintage. They're 30 years old. So if we were to be in classic card terms, I think it's anything over 20 or 25 years is considered a classic or vintage. So to me, in my mind, I think anything prior to 1990 is definitely vintage now, especially it being 2020, the new year. So I think it would be an easy discussion to have, and I would like to have that. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments as I go through this and see what you think, and I'll answer back, and we can debate it as needed. So, you know, this is definitely vintage. There's no arguments. Everybody would argue this. How vintage? There's some guys that are pre-war guys that would argue that this is borderline modern cards. I think the majority of us would conclude this is definitely a vintage card. My argument is this era, the junk wax era, would be, I guess, early to mid 80s all the way through the 90s. But prior to 1990, this being an 86, I would argue this is definitely a vintage card. Um, and the reason I got this discussion going in my mind was I was at the card show in Indianapolis this weekend, and I would hear guys constantly talking to each other and referring to I collect vintage. And they would say, well, I have some 80s stuff. And I heard several people say, no, that's modern. I do 79 and older, that's vintage. And I just want to think like, yeah, for us guys that age group that grew up, maybe we don't want to admit it for our age that's vintage, but I think a strong argument can be made it's absolutely vintage. Now, I know a lot of people refer to 80s, 90s, myself included, as the junk wax era, which it is, and that is basically because of the overproduction of the cards through early, or I guess I would say mid 80s through the 90s is the junk wax era. But I think you can make an argue for what era each decade would be for cards. To me, I think junk wax aside, me moving forward on a personal note, as far as my collecting, I'm going to start referring to anything 89 and older as vintage, and 1990 and newer is modern. Um, Another thing, just to kind of let you in how my brain works. So I'm putting together this PSA set registry of post-war rookies, which will be in the second half of this video. I'll turn the camera around and show you guys my screen for my PSA collection that I'm trying to assemble. Um, but I was thinking about it, and I found myself torn, as in which rookies did I want to purchase first, and which decade did I want to try to complete. Because looking at it as a broad view, it is kind of difficult, very expensive. As of late, I've collected more modern cards than vintage cards, just because of the pricing of vintage has gone through the roof the last year. And for as much as I like to purchase and things I like to chase, my budget wouldn't allow me to purchase at the speed that I want to. So I was able to dabble in modern cards, do a lot of flipping, but also collect some modern and really build more of a modern collection as well. But on the other, back to what I was saying about the vintage. So as I was looking through these by decade, I found myself feeling kind of guilty for buying 80s cards when I knew I wanted to concentrate more on my vintage rookies. So this led to me just kind of sitting back and thinking, and the more I thought about it, I was like, it could be vintage. And talking with my wife, she kind of pointed out, Hey, the 80s is over 30 years ago. So that's pretty vintage. So she kind of sunk it home for me, and the more I thought, I was, she's right. So just wanted to bring that up. Really like to hear what you guys have to say about it. Your thoughts, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer, and we can debate back and forth as much as you want. But going back to the second half of this video, give me a second. I'm going to flip the camera, and I'll be right back. Hang tight. Alright guys, welcome back. As you can see on my screen here, I have logged into my PSA registry, and I'm looking at one of the sets I'm working on currently. And this set is the Hall of Fame post-war rookies. As you can see, I'm not doing so great on it so far. I still need 88 out of 106, but it is something that I've decided that's where my focus is going to be, and I'm going to work on in the future. So this goes all the way up. Let me scroll down here. I believe to the 90s. Yeah, so this finishes out in 1997. Honestly, I don't know that I'll go that high. I will probably cut it off right around here. I wasn't too involved with watching baseball or collecting baseball 95 to mid 2000s. That decade there, I really wasn't involved, not real familiar. I don't have, I guess, that personal tie to some of these players that would be in this set. But these guys prior to that, I do remember watching. I liked watching most of those guys, absolutely. And there's a ton of good rookies in this set. And I am working on it. And this is going to be my biggest focus for 2020. You will see a lot of my videos where I'll be showing you modern cards. The biggest part of that is whether I got a really good deal on it, whether it be at a show, shop, or in a trade, or B, whether I'm going to use that card as a potential prospect for flipping later to free up funds to really pursue this list. Now, there will be modern players you will see that I'll purchase and will hang on to. And I'll tell you, I'll hang on to them because I do believe they're future Hall of Famers. And also, you will see Cubs from time to time. What can I say? I'm a sucker for a Cubs card. But outside of that, I just wanted to bring this up, show you guys this is going to be my main focus list that I'm going to be working off of throughout 2020. So most of my channel is going to be discussing plans for picking up these cards and how I'm going to do it. So I still will have the same content I've been putting out, but I will be more focused on what I paid for cards, what I plan to sell the card for, how I'm going to combine that money with other sold cards to purchase some of these cards to help complete this set. And right now, like I said, we're 6 days into January, and I have less than a third of this set. So I have 88 still needed. I would really am curious to see how far we get this year and how close we get to completing this by the end of the year in 2020. And I would really like to focus and hone in on this registered set for sure. There's some in here that I don't know that I'll ever have, especially, where's it at? There, right here. This card and this card, I don't know if or when those will ever make it into my collection. Those are big ticket cards for sure. There's some other ones in here, but those two for sure are very big ticket cards. So outside of those, I really think I have a good shot at completing most of this list. There's still a couple that I worry about too. You got the Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente. Those are very expensive as well. But outside of those, I guess those 4 cards, I really think I have a good shot at completing this list. By the end of the year, I would like to see if I can get it down to less than 10 cards by the end of the year. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Hit that like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on what is a vintage card and your thoughts on this set. what you think is as far as a good focus. I've been trying to narrow my focus. I'll always collect my Cubs, as we know, but I've been really, very scrambled on trying to purchase. I definitely love rookie cards, try to collect a lot of rookie cards, but I really want to hone in and have a specific list I'm working off of and stay focused. So, anyways, let me know what you think, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day.